the cause of confusion. You know, he is also known as the God of confusion. And so, according to Bel and his essence and how what he is supposed to do, he lived up to the meaning of his name. Bel, or Cush, was the cause of confusion. And I'll explain to you why. It says in Genesis chapter 11, verse 1, and all the earth had one language and one speech. What language was that? I believe that was the language of ancient Hebrew. My king, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his name is written in Hebrew. So I believe that the ancient language was Hebrew. But check this out. Because Bel was the confounder, he was the one to cause confusion. We read in Genesis 11, 6 through 7, he says, Yahweh said, look, the people are united. They all have a single language, and see what they're starting to do. At this rate, nothing they set out to accomplish will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so that they won't understand each other's speech. So because of the actions of Bel, or Cush, because of his thoughts, and said, let us go and build the Tower of Babel so that we can be gods in a sense. Because of his actions, he lived out his purpose. He lived out the purpose and caused Yahweh to come down and split the tongues. And that is the reason why you're listening to this study in English. And so many other languages there are out there also, English, Spanish, Hebrew, and every other language that there is. But it all began here in Babylon. But let's keep in mind that he is the one who causes confusion. And like I said, Cush transcends from time to time. So now we have Cush, also known as Bel, and I'm going to bring you to the Greek now. I'm going to bring you to the Greeks actually, before we go to the Greeks, we read in Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 1 and 2. It says that the word of Yahweh spoke against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet, declaring among the nations, proclaim and set up a banner, proclaim and do not conceal it. Say, Babylon is taken, Bel is confounded. So now we understand who Bel is. Bel refers back to Cush. Merodach, remember who was Merodach? Merodach, it refers back to Nimrod. Merodach is broken into pieces. Her idols, whose idols? Babylon. Remember, Yahweh spoke against Babylon. It says, her idols are humiliated. Her images are broken in pieces. And according to the Strong's Concordance, if you look up the interlinear of Merodach, it brings you to a Babylonian king. It refers to back as a Babylonian king. So we already established who was that Babylonian king, which was Nimrod. So so that we can better understand who Jeremiah is talking about when he mentions Bel and Merodach. Now to the Greeks. When Cush, according to Alexander Hislop, which is the author of the Two Babylons, he says that chaos was the god of confusion for the Greeks. Chaos was the god of confusion, and the word chaos actually fits, the description of that god. And he says that chaos was Cush, for Cush was written Kus, and in Chaldean was pronounced Chaos, or chaos, or chaos. And so I went to my interlinear, and I looked up the word Cush, and it brought up the pronunciation was Kawush, Kawush. So it kind of, and it coincides, it correlates. But check this out. We know now that Cush is Bel, right? And Bel is known as the God of gods, right? The father of gods, just like his son. He was the father of gods. And he was known as the God of confusion. But chaos, also for the Greeks, was known as the God of confusion. So, and let's keep in mind, who is behind all of this? It's Hasatan, transcending the same person, the same gods, from time to time, from culture to culture. And so now we understand that the Greek god Chaos really refers back to Cush. Cush and Nimrod, the founders of Babylon. And you're probably wondering, like, man, like, what does all this have to do with the New Year celebration and all this? But like I said, we have to go back to the roots. We have to go back to where it comes from. You know, we have to challenge everything, because we are the people of Yahweh. And if Yahweh says to abstain from the worship of idols, the worship of other gods, we have to challenge the traditions that we partake in, so that we don't offend our heavenly King. Amen? So let's keep in mind that Cush is Bel, and Bel is also Chaos, right? Cush and Chaos, they're all the same. They're just different names in different cultures. So that brings me to this god, Janus Befrons. Janus Befrons. And Janus was the name, because of Janus, this is the celebration of the new year. And let's read, in ancient Roman religion and myth, Janus is the god of beginnings and endings, transitions, gates, doors, and passages, and time. He is usually depicted as having two faces. The Romans named the month of January from, or his full name is Januarius, in his honor. In 46 BC, Julius Caesar established the Julian calendar, making January 1st the new year in honor of Janus. And so now we're clarifying now. The month of January comes from the Roman deity. This is Rome now. And we're establishing that the Roman deity of Janus, this is where we get January from, the January 1st celebration that was established by Julius Caesar. And so now you're probably wondering, so how are we connecting Janus with Chaos from the Greeks, which is also Bel and Cush from Babylon? So how are we going to connect Janus back to Babylon? Well, this guy is going to do it for me. Publius Ovidius Naso. He was born in BC 43 and was a poet in Roman court in the reign of the Emperor Augustus. He was popular after Virgil and Horace, who were famous poets of Rome. Ovidius was the author of the Fasti poems, and we're gonna get to this right now. What I would like to say is that this poet was very much like how our poet is, and our poet is King David in the book of Psalms. See, the book of Psalms was pretty much all poetry proclaiming and giving praises unto Yahweh the King, proclaiming, the beautiful wonders and miracles about the Torah, and proclaiming how wondrous is Yahweh. And a lot of this poetry that King David wrote, there's a lot of revelation also. There's a lot of prophetic things that he said also within prophecies, within the poetries. And so the book of Psalms, is a very profound book of poetry. And as you may already know, poetry is more or less a sense of art. It's very, very artistic. And so, since we have King David's book of Psalms speaking about our king, so does Hasatan. Hasatan has this poet speaking about his ancient gods and his, ancient deities. And we're going to get into the Fasti poems. And he says, Ovidius has Janus say, he's writing as if he was Janus. He says, the ancients called me chaos. For a being from an old am I. Observe the long, long ages of which my song shall tell. And so this is, Ovidius talking about, writing as if he was Janus. And he's saying that Janus says that the ancients called me chaos, right? And so a book by Robert Graves, the Encyclopedia of Mythology, he says